according to this individual, Frieren is an Isekai, and it's not a Shonen, which you got both wrong. For one, it is in a Shonen magazine. On top of that, it is definitely not a Isekai, because, it's just a traditional fantasy, which is one of the main vocal points that the entire internet in the anime community and manga community was praising about Frieren. And I talked about this in length in my videos. And so, yeah, this alone, when I saw this, I was just like, I cannot believe that this is about Frieren of all series. Now, this individual, I think, honestly, has a humiliation fetish, and hear me out. I already ratioed this man. I already absolutely went after this man for his horrendous ReZero take that he made about a month ago at this point, and I went super in-depth. Basically, too long to not read, I destroyed him. I countered pretty much every point that he made about ReZero and how it was supposedly bad, etc. and all that. But getting into the main topic, he has decided to grace his horrible takes with Frieren now. And it makes a lot of sense why he decided to dive into Frieren, because I've noticed as of late, Frieren is, it's very popular, and I've noticed it's getting popular to hate. I've definitely seen an uptick, a trend of this statement, these statements around the community, that people say Frieren is absolutely a dog water series, it's overrated, it's overhyped, it's not worth a masterpiece or a cult classic type status, it is something that will fade in memory in just a year, which I'm just gonna say it, and pardon my language, that's bullshit, because I'm gonna tell you, Frieren is definitely made history. It has definitely resonated with so many people, from the casual fan base to the hardcore fan base. Hell, and I know this isn't very important, but for it to surpass Fullmetal Alchemist on my anime list and stay there for over a year says enough. Especially when Fullmetal Alchemist has been stationed as the #1 on that site for literally over a decade, and there's been so much controversy about that for a long time. But what I'm saying is Frieren has made a lot of sweeping waves and changes within the environment of anime, and it's definitely made room, and I definitely think that producers and people that work on anime have noticed that more people want traditional fantasy. We don't want just reincarnated, transported, or isekai or anything like that. We want traditional fantasy. Go back to the age-old Dungeons and Dragons, Lord of the Rings, stuff like that. That's what people want. That's what people are craving, because we have been so starved from that content for a very long time. People crave it, because for the last, at this point in time now, for the last 14 to 12 years of anime, you know, it's mostly just been about transported / reincarnated like stories. And there's been a few fantasy that slips through the cracks here and there, but nothing has made waves, so to speak. And Frieren is one of those first series after a very long time that just, it was at the right place, at the right time, with the right story, the right characters, the right voice acting, the right studio, the right staff, everything to really just get it off the ground, and it really home runned itself. I mean, it had so many things working for it, that is why it is so incredibly popular. So when I took a hard look at this tank, I could not believe what I was reading. And I want to say, before we go any further, okay, there is nothing wrong with disliking a series, even Frieren. If you do not like Frieren, if you think it is absolute doo-doo, like doo-doo water, okay? That's fine. Completely fine. Doesn't mean I'm going to agree with you, but it is completely fine to not like something. That is completely fine. You have a complete right to an opinion on how you feel about a show. That is fine. However, when you post an opinion publicly, don't think people are just going to sit there and look at your opinion and not point out if it's wrong or not, or if they believe it's wrong or not. And in this case, that's what I'm doing. And you can clearly see by just how many retweets / quote retweets is on this post, I think it speaks for itself that this man is getting absolutely ratioed. It's not looking good. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, hell, I actually already ratioed this man, last night. I made a post about him, actually. I think I already ratioed him here. Let me scroll down, and I will show you guys. Yeah, here it is. I've already ratioed this man. So, says it as it is. But anyways, getting into the main point, we need to talk about his complaints, okay? The first off, and what he's saying within this post, and why it is just such a bad faith review from him, that honestly, it makes me believe that his argument points, he hasn't even watched the show. Like, I am led to believe that this individual, think before you sleep, yeah, you really should have fought before you tweeted, fought before you posted this online, fought before you even decided to turn on your PC today. You definitely should have thought about this, because I feel like the way you worded all these points within this post is more or less someone that got all their information for Frieren either through other YouTubers, through meme videos, TikToks, or the wiki. That's what I'm led to believe here from this giant post, because it completely misses the mark about what Frieren is actually about. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty here, okay? Let's start with the very beginning. I am so tired of people saying that Frieren is a good show. So people enjoying themselves and having fun makes you upset. We already know what kind of person we're dealing with. It sucks. Are people so lost these days that they think a 5 out of 10 show has Breaking Bad levels of writing? Maybe not normies, but in anime world, so many /10 out of shows get tons of attention and praise. Now, this argument, I can definitely, to a degree, not fully, to a degree, accept and agree with this. That's shocking, I know. And the reason why is because I do think that there is a lot of shows out there that definitely are incredibly popular because they have flashing lights and dopamine hits, so to speak. That's what I think, why a lot of things become popular. But it doesn't disregard their overwhelming success and those people that enjoy those said series. If people enjoy it, we can't discredit them and say you have no reason to, like it. People enjoy what they enjoy, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, this person coming off very aggressively and basically being upset that people are enjoying themselves shows we're dealing with a very negative individual that legitimately just doesn't like seeing people have fun. That's at least what I get from this opening statement from them. How many episodes of that show are just nonsense filler? It had to be like 10 to 12. He's talking about Frieren, by the way. I get that not every episode has to drive the plot forward. Shows can be more episodic in nature, like Avatar: The Last Airbender, where some of the most memorial episodes of that show are technically filler. Or an example of anime that does that well is Cowboy Bebop. But in Frieren's case, instead of getting a 3 to 5 act story with twists and turns, you get, hey, let's buy red-haired Zenitsu's an oversized anime steak for his birthday. Oh, and that's another annoying thing about modern anime. Every character is an archetype and not an actual character. It's so lazy. If I see another guy tilt his chin down and push up his glasses in a fight, I am going to lose it. Let's start off with the archetype one first before I get into the main elephant in the room. The fact that you are upset with a character just being an archetype and not explaining why they're a bad version of said archetype automatically makes your entire argument against characters pointless. You're basically just upset because a character is an archetype. For instance, you can have characters tilt their head, push up their glasses, and they can have so much more to them than that. It's a little trope, it's a little thing, and there is ways for writers to do a good archetype and a bad archetype. You have no reasoning to why the characters are a bad archetype. The only thing that you talked about was that Stark apparently got a steak for his birthday, and you compared him with another character from a completely different series that doesn't even matter in terms of Frieren's actual story and the argument being made here. It's legitimately wild to me just how you missed the mark on actually explaining characters. Like, for instance, you can have the most stereotypical character archetype, but it depends on the quality of the writer if the archetype is used or not. There is so many good and bad examples that you could potentially use, but you give literally no example of a character archetype and why it's bad and why it could be good or better or whatever. You give no examples of this. You just say the character's bad because it's archetype. That's it. And it's just like, that's not an argument. There's nothing wrong with it if you dislike said characters. Once again, I want to say that. There's nothing wrong if you dislike Frieren or dislike the characters. But if you're going to say they're absolutely bad, like straight up factually bad, give some reasons for this, for we can see why you came to this point of view. But you only dislike them because of an archetype. That's not an argument. That is not what you think it is. Now, anyways, getting into the elephant in the room, we gotta look at what he said here about the 10 to 12 episodes of filler, how Frieren should have had 3 to 5 story act, all this type of stuff, and talking about Stark's birthday. This one, automatically, when you start your statement off with something like this, instantly, I don't take you seriously. I cannot take anything else you wrote here. I'm probably not even going to read it, because this first statement alone lets me know that you're someone that is so deprived of dopamine that you need a continuous hit of anything to keep your attention on screen. You're the very essence of what you were complaining about at the beginning of your statement. But even if we disregard that, you miss the point entirely on what Frieren is about. It is about cherishing the little time you have with said characters, the people around you, and the time you have on this world. Frieren is more or less a vessel showcasing the passage of time, and that, you know, in a brief moment, when you turn your back, you turn your head around, things change. In what could be a year for someone, it could be almost an entire lifetime for them. And in this case, the fact that you're upset with characters having birthday parties and cherishing the time they've been on this planet, on their planet, it's legitimately appalling. Like, I'm appalled by how someone can actually miss the entire point and concept of Frieren. It really makes me believe that you have not watched the show at all. It makes me believe that only information you've gathered from Frieren is either through TikToks, memes, wiki, and maybe other content creators. It really is apparent to me with these opening statements that you have not watched the show that you're critiquing. That's what it really does feel like. But I'm going to be honest with you, with this open statement, it makes me not even want to take anything else you say here very seriously whatsoever. And so I'm just going to cut to the chase. I want to say a few things. This post as well, just, guys, pause the video and look at that. Just read that. Just read this. This is... The fact you can make statements like this, and then also talk about overpowered characters like Frieren and Demon Lord, I got transported, all that type of stuff, this one absolutely blows my mind. Like, this actually does. This anime is not shonen. It's isekai. Every isekai MC starts off overpowered, with the exception of ReZero. I understand Frieren is not technically isekai from a story standpoint, but it has all the same plot points and beats of, I got transported to another world to defeat the Demon Lord. You realize Demon Lords, Demon Kings, have been, a staple in fantasy for not decades, centuries. Good example is Lord of the Rings, Tolkien's verse. Literally an example of good v evil. And you can look at Morgoth and Sauron as Demon Lords / Demon Kings. That's what you can view them as. And the fact that you think anything with a Demon Lord and / Demon King is automatically like an isekai and that template, just educate yourself with some books, man. Just read some stuff, and just blows my mind about that one. On top of that, Frieren is not an overpowered transported character. She is strong, yes, but she was strong since the very beginning. The journey of Frieren is after the journey. It is after journey's end. That's what it is about. It is literally about after the goal of the story is over. It's like, imagine you start the series of Dragon Ball, and you start Super. Okay, you start with Super. Obviously, you missed everything from Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Obviously, Goku and all the other characters are going to be extremely overpowered, because it's like, they've already accomplished basically their main objectives. So it's like, of course Frieren's strong. Like, of course. She had a whole 10-year journey. That was the whole point. Like, what? Like, man, I'm going to keep it real with you. Take it from me, as an anime reviewer, as someone that makes anime content, been doing it for the last decade. Maybe anime reviews ain't for you. Because if this isn't a humiliation fetish, for instance, you wanting to be humiliated by the internet at large by thousands of people, and this is your serious takes about things, either take a step back, think about what you're writing, and stop trying to be a contrarian just to be a contrarian, or actually, I don't really know. My man, advice, this ain't it. It's a bunch of yapping, it ain't it, and That's all I'm gonna leave it at. And let's not even get into this one. Like, this man is defending demons. Literal demons. Like, I want to make sure we outline this. The story of Frieren. Demons within the verse is basically the equivalent of evil within Lord of the Rings. That's what it is. Like, Sauron and his whole forces, they're evil. That's what they are. That's what Frodo and everybody fights back against. And they are irredeemable. That's what they are. They are absolutely evil itself. And the demons within Frieren are basically that as well. They are individuals that lack empathy, they can't understand human emotion, and they manipulate human emotion to get what they want. Yes, Frieren doesn't like demons, but they're not good. I cannot believe we have you defending literal, murderous demons. I rest my case. Y'all be safe, stay healthy, Chibi out.